takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away?
And welcome everybody to Off Day, Ballpark Nation. It's Labor Day weekend. It's a vacation weekend. And Andy, you know, you and I were talking, and I made you stop abruptly because you're making a good point. We were discussing how William Zabka was the bad guy in Back to School, which led him to being the bad guy in European Vacation, which led us to pointing out that all he did in that movie was point out that Audrey was fat and that it was the worst vacation movie because clearly the worst casting of Audrey and of Rusty. Although I guess he's the only Rusty that looks like a Rusty in that movie because he's a ginger. But that movie
Anthony Michael Hall, I think, is technically a ginger, at least was at that point in his life. But again, the best Rusty, and then the Rusties got worse progressively from there. And that was the issue with the.
They did not get worse progressively. No, they bounced back for both parts in Christmas, and they're both better in European. They bottomed out. They're both better in Vegas, and they're both better in the 2015 one. They bottomed out at European. There's no progressively worse with that.
I do like the 2015 vacation. I was not one of the people who got all mad because, you know, it wasn't what I expected it to be. And Christina Applegate didn't get nude or whatever their problem was.
Well, they said it was too not family friendly, forgetting what those other movies were. I French kiss and I go steady. Yeah, everyone does that. Yeah, but Daddy says I'm the best at it. Yeah, that's real wholesome.
Well, I mean, it's just as wholesome as tying your aunt to the top of a car.
Or dragging the dog behind the bumper.
The dog.
Yeah.
I bet he tried to keep up for a couple of miles.
Tough little mutt. Tough little pooch. James Keach as the motorcycle cop.
But yeah, the Audreys were bad, and the Audreys were never good. I didn't enjoy Vegas Vacation either, to be real honest with you. It was better than European Vacation.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't. I didn't think Vegas Vacation was very good either, but it had nothing to do with the casting and everything to do with the plot. Like, I actually quite liked Ethan Embry as Rusty, and Audrey was a smoke show in that movie.
The best part of European Vacation was the Beverly D'Angelo nude scene, which is not hard to find if you have Mr. Skin on the internet, as we were talking about earlier. But
the best part of European was when they were at the Oktoberfest thing and the German chick got nude. That was a big moment for me.
As we were just talking about Sally Kellerman, Beverly D'Angelo's in that class for me as well. And you're talking to probably 15-year-old Andy. Yeah.
I do believe her breasts were the first ones I ever saw in a movie. Beverly D'Angelo's in the first one.
Congrats.
Yeah, I think that definitely set me up. It set every woman I would ever be with afterwards for failure.
Mine would have been probably the unnamed part in Airplane where they just randomly had breasts.
Oh, yeah. No, but I definitely still think for me it was like, I remember the first time I realized I liked women, and I was 6 years old.
Oh, did you make that choice? Did you?
I made the choice.
Good job.
I like to put it. It wasn't like a jump ball though. I was pretty predetermined, but it was the opening credits to For Your Eyes Only, and all the naked chicks swimming around, and I was like, I don't know what's happening down there, but I think I like it. And I bet I was younger than 6 when I got my first moment of, I like women and I like them better naked when they're swimming in the water. Boom. There you go.
This is a big stance you're taking. I hope that you don't get canceled.
I'm practically canceled anyway. We've got 13 people watching right now. I know our podcast numbers are better and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, no, I mean, what? I can't get canceled for admitting the fact that I like naked women and I got a boner once or lots of times.
No, I just meant taking the hardline stance that you like women.
Yeah, I mean, that's canceled. Where we are.
Canceled.
How dare a straight right man have an opinion that's
like being pro cancer research. No, nobody's mad at you.
Yeah. Well, we also have a stance that your stance says 2 out of 3 is not great. Don't fall into the trap, Andy, that it had to be a sweep. The thing we've been saying from the beginning was win series, and they did that. They won the series yesterday.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but the Astros have a, let's say, anecdotal history, because I don't think the actual numbers support what I'm about to say. They probably clearly don't. But the Astros tend to play down, in my perception, to bad opponents. I don't think other teams are all that great, because baseball is baseball, and somehow this Rockies team still has won 38 or 39 games so far this season. That's not a lot, but they still managed to win those games against somebody. It was more the way the losses happened. Monday night, with all the momentum, of all the hype, with all the crowd into the game, the Hello Kitty folks were even into it. The Astros Tuesday, they laid an entire egg in the stadium. And then I was at the game Thursday, businessman special. Astros hit 2 home runs in the first inning, and you think maybe the offense is going to get on track. And then they proceeded to do dick for the rest of the game until Christian Walker. And yes, there was a suicide squeeze in there. Great. That inning should have been more than 1 run, because you still had
more than 1-1. But Augie Garrido smiled down on us with that suicide squeeze.
I also realized that, at least on Blue Sky, and I didn't go on Twitter yesterday at the game, I don't think you're allowed to say suicide squeeze anymore, because it's triggering for some people. Because nobody knew what I was talking about. It was a squeeze play. It was absolutely a suicide squeeze, because the runner on third was already broken for home. That is the definition of a suicide squeeze. Anyway, this series, we took 2 of 3. That's great. It didn't need to be as hard as it was. But the offense the Astros are putting out on the field these days just makes everything feel so hard, and not in a good way.
Well, okay, I can't make any arguments for Tuesday night. I can make an argument for Wednesday night of the pitcher they were throwing out there is actually considered a pretty top prospect in baseball with really flipped home road splits. So he's actually been quite dominant on the road, and he was throwing 98 with movement. So I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about Wednesdays. Yeah, yesterday, it almost felt like, I don't know. I saw, first of all, we are not on this show. We are not going to, and as it was pointed out, when we make creative decisions, I have 50.3% of the vote. I think you have 49.7%.
I'm unpaid labor, so
we are not going to be the show that tried to diagnose
your management.
I'm not.
Screw you.
We're not going to be the show that tries to diagnose effort or heart, or they just don't want it. That's stupid and ridiculous. And somebody that sided with me shared a quote from the Shark Tank guy that used to own the Mavericks, that dude. And he always said that, that's the dumbest thing sports fans try to say, because these guys are literally playing for their job. Like in sports, it's cutthroat. Like you're literally playing for you can't really phone it in. So the concept that they're not trying hard, and in fact, maybe in baseball, I don't know, man, you know a lot about baseball. Sometimes when you try real hard, you actually don't do as well.
Oh yeah. From sitting where I was sitting yesterday, you saw a lot of guys, especially at the bottom of the order, really pressing. I don't worry that much about Altuve pressing, and guys that are 10-year veterans who have had success after success tend to have a better perspective on it. I think it's one of the things that leads to that success. But you watch a guy at the bottom of the lineup like Chas McCormick yesterday, who, what has he hit? 1 home run this year?
Has he hit 1?
I think he's hit 1. Not a lot of playing time, granted, but was just swinging out of his heels most of the game, unless he was trying to bunt and making no contact, but still running halfway down the first baseline like you didn't know he didn't make contact, which is bizarre to me. You have a lot of guys doing that, though, right now, that just it's like you're trying to hit a 5-run home run every at-bat instead of just letting the game come to you a little bit. And I think that's a big part of what's going on. I think when you're in that lineup and you do get a Yordan Alvarez back on Tuesday night, everybody wants to make it a big show. And unfortunately, I think some of the guys played out of their ability. because of that emotion, because of that thing. Now, does that bode well for a playoff situation with a normal team? Probably not. For this team, I don't know, because we play the Yankees a week from now, and it'll probably be a different team, even though it's the same guys, because the approach will be better. I'm kind of worried about what happens with a wraparound series against the Angels, although I fully expect the Zach Nitos of the world to try to pick fights. So that should keep us, more focused on winning baseball games the normal way. But it's just interesting times that this lineup, even getting healthy and still missing Jake Myers, which I would have bet large money I wouldn't have said at this point in April. Just something isn't clicking, and it's weird. And it's especially weird that it seems to happen at home more than it happens on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And yet, for as much as it was not great, they still scored 4 runs. They still scored 4 runs yesterday. They only scored 1 on Tuesday night, but that was just a collective shit show. And then, they still have chunks of games where they're scoring runs. I don't understand the not scoring at home thing at all. And it felt like at the beginning of the season we had moved past that a little bit, but it feels like it's back. I just for the life of me don't understand it. I know that people bring up the batter's eye, and then anybody that brings it up is making an excuse, but there's got to be a reason why a team can score 7 runs on the road and then come home and score 1.
Well, the Astros,
I guess, worst competition.
The Astros since July 1st are 8-14 at home, and that includes the 2 games they've won the last 2 nights. That's not a great record at all, much less a good home record.
Did you say 8 and what?
8-14. So they were 6-14 or 5-14 going into 5-13 going into the Rockies series.
Wow,
that's July 1st. And I know you attended all of those games, so I mean, thanks for not doing that.
No, I actually attended 1 of the 5, just 1.
But yeah, you did feel prior to July 1st that somehow the Astros have decided to be a normal baseball team and win more games at home than they did on the road, and they were playing that. And then something happened in July, and you probably argue that the relative lack of health of the team finally caught up with them. But as you just mentioned, we haven't played exactly a murderer's row at home in baseball games. As a matter of fact, I think the Red Sox are the best team we played in that stretch at home, and we won 2 of 3 in that series. So it's just kind of weird the way this season has unfolded. I would guess 95% of this is all due to the lack of health, lack of availability, the need to give rest days, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't smell right.
Sure. Okay, look, lack of health, clearly a problem, but this has also been a 2024 problem and a 2023 problem in particular. 2022, not so much, but let's not forget that the Astros could have won 1 game at home in the playoffs in 2023 during the ALCS to go to the World Series and then probably ultimately win it. So there is something happening. There's something about playing at home that's affecting this team. And I really don't have any idea what it is or how you diagnose it. But I think that we've got a big enough sample size with really good baseball teams to see that it is a thing.
Well, I think you should be really careful how you approach this, because Dyken Park is 25 years old, and Jim Crane will ask for a new stadium if you don't stop. So, because that may be the only solution, is you just tear it down and start over.
No, the only solution.
Public funds. I need $1 billion to build a stadium, or I'm going to move it to Northern Virginia. Where did Drayton want to move it to?
I don't know. Do you think you would have stayed as passionate a fan if it had become the Houston Diesel? Because I don't know that I would have. I think, particularly because I wasn't living in Houston, I wonder if that would have just been a sliding detachment of baseball for me.
Well, I think it would have been really interesting, because I think somehow Diesel was going to tie into Nolan Ryan having an ownership piece and some other stuff that was supposed to go on. And it'd been really interesting when the Astros pissed Nolan off 5 years after they named the team somehow after him or put his face on the stadium. And then they had to undo all that stuff. And then he came back and they had to redo it.
Yeah, because to be fair, pissing Nolan Ryan off is it's easier to piss him off than it was to hit him because he's kind of a little bitch.
I mean, I guess I'm a huckleberry. Here's my problem. I'm a huckleberry for the Houston teams. So, yes, I would be really upset had they changed the name to the Diesel, and I probably would have not gone to a game for a couple of years. And then when there was no TV for those 3 years in the 2010s, I probably wouldn't have tried to watch them at all. But I still would have come back because it's just, sorry, it's the relationship I'm not going to quit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's interesting. It's easy for me to sit here and say I would not have changed either, but particularly the name Diesel would have sounded so stupid.
I mean, it's better than the Engineers because I think that was also one of the considerations.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody stopped that shit. Even though we had a disconnected branding and name, right? Because then all of a sudden you've got this futuristic name and you look like a bunch of bullshit
with choo-choo trains.
With choo-choos.
Because the space program and choo-choo trains.
That's what it is. Houston Chews. And then, Cheo could have been the mascot.
The Cheo Chew?
Yeah.
Choo-choo Cheo?
All of a sudden. Our friend, that show, Crush City Pod had the guy played Junction Jack on the show. And I'll be honest, it's the one episode I skipped. I don't care. But whatever. Junction Jack was weird. I mean, it's terrifying.
I don't blame anybody for efforting anybody to interview, but Junction Jack was maybe the largest mistake this franchise ever made, and we traded Joe Morgan.
Yeah. Hey, I guess you know what, Andy. That brings up. Let's talk a little NFL just for a second before we transfer into college football we care about. I know you're not a huge NFL guy, and you're certainly not a Cowboys fan, but I get this message from friend of the show who's probably watching, Craig Harmon, who's a big Packer guy. And he was like, I think Jerry Jones is the worst owner in the world and blah, 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 blah. And I hope he stays there another 100 years or something like that. I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I checked the email and I see that the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons. And I wrote him back and I said, I didn't know you were trying to tell me something. I thought you were just being an asshole. I've been tried to reassured by people that are still Cowboys diehard people. In many ways, my love for that team faded a long time ago. I mean, definitely the farther we got away from the 90s, the harder it was for me to care anymore. But that's got to be a shocking trade, right? Even just to somebody that Micah Parsons being traded seems crazy.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a shocking trade when you realize the team that was involved. I mean, the Cowboys have one of these guys every year that holds out they hold out and Jerry Jones personally takes over negotiations. And it rarely works out good for the Cowboys, even when they keep the player.
You mean like Dak Prescott being the highest paid quarterback in NFL?
Yeah, or CeeDee Lamb, who is worthwhile, but you can't tie up that much of your payroll in one or two guys in 2025 in the NFL. And Jerry Jones seems to not understand that. There wasn't enough money to give Micah Parsons what the Packers gave him yesterday afternoon.
But they offered more.
Right. But they would have had to cut like 38 guys.
Right.
They can offer it. That's fine. But it would have been a problem fielding.
There's an offer.
Well, I guess it probably wouldn't have been a problem fielding at the team because everybody outside of Harris County in Texas will all play for the Cowboys for free. Until the first time Micah Parsons hits you in the mouth, and then all of a sudden free doesn't feel so good, does it?
Yeah.
The good news for you is you can just turn on Netflix this fall and watch 9 parts of the documentary of the Cowboys in the 90s.
Yeah. Tim said that. My brother Tim said it's been an excellent documentary.
Yeah, you could just remember that and pretend that just NFL ended in 98, 97, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Well, one of my students, they're talking about, the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing, which I do want to talk about in a second, but they were like, I can't believe the biggest pop stars marrying the greatest tight end in the history of football. And I went, huh?
No.
First of all, and I know all the names you're going to say, but I'd like to point out that our Polish brother, Jay Novacek, that's right, baby. That's the greatest tight end of all time.
I mean, not sure.
He's not even the greatest tight end in Cowboys history, but still.
And not even.
And I think he might be Czech, not Polish, but I don't care.
It's depending on how Germany or Russia felt in a given decade. Does it really matter?
It doesn't.
I don't like you. You're now part of another country. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jawohl. No, it is not shocking because I thought that was how the whole Michael Parsons thing was going to end, with him somewhere else making more money. Jerry Jones continues to overvalue his ability to negotiate contracts, to understand what makes an NFL team click. And I'm struggling to even find Cowboys fans who are defending him any longer. I mean, up until even last year, you had a couple of outliers that are like, he's fine, he's not the problem. It's da da da.
Oh, I was one of them.
But this is his MO. Sitting from the outside, he is one of those people, and I've experienced this in some other walks of life, that other parts of my life that I deal with. He is a person that will tell you that he loves this organization with all his heart and soul, and because of that, he's going to do everything he can to destroy it unintentionally.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. And you know, when he dies, because luckily for the Cowboys, like, it's interesting because
he's not immortal. Luckily for the Cowboys, he's not immortal.
Luckily for us. But to, you know, you can see a world where it's not different than it's not that different from the Longhorns and NIL. Whereas, okay, so the Longhorns had all of this money, but no real way to above the table make it play out on the field. And now they do, and we see what they're putting out there. They're going to be a perennial contender for the foreseeable future unless things drastically change economically. The Cowboys are going to have the same situation in the sense that they are the most valued franchise in sports on the planet, not even like in football or America, like on the planet. And once they get Jerry Jones out of there, someone that can actually use that money to field a good football team, they're going to go back to being what the Cowboys were. It's just, but when he does die, you're going to, if you take a step back and you look at his tenure and you say he owned the Cowboys for 30 years and won 3 Super Bowls, most football fans would take that. It's just they all came in 4 years and then nothing else happened afterward. And that's the issue.
Yeah, but that's so much of that is Jerry Jones's ego and his ability to, or his lack of ability to handle people disagreeing with him, having different opinions. Some of the draft picks when he was directly in charge of the draft were insane.
Quincy Carter didn't blow your skirt up?
Quincy was exactly who I was thinking of when I said that. Nothing against Quincy Carter, but just, hey, I hired all these experts. I'm going to completely ignore everything they say because this guy shook my hand the right way in the interview that I didn't have with him.
Well, can you imagine one?
By the way,
Twitter?
Gil Brandt, noted NFL hack Gil Brandt does not have Travis Kelce as one of his top 14 all-time tight ends. So sorry, fans.
He's probably got Jay Novacek ahead of him, I'm betting.
Novacek is not on there, but hard-hitting Witten is on there.
Well, Jason Witten actually has a claim to being in like the top 5, probably. Like he's a
Tony Gonzalez was number 1. Kellen Winslow was number 2. John Mackey was number 3. Jason Witten was number 4. So you do have a Cowboy.
Where's Gates?
Dave Casper, Gronkowski, Ditka. Antonio Gates is number 8.
Okay. All right.
So Ozzie Newsome rounds up the top 10. No Kelce on the list. Sorry.
No Kelce. No. Also, too, let's stop. The incels need to stop bitching about every time they cut to Taylor Swift. First of all, America, we don't have a royal family. We have celebrities. We like celebrities. They seem to actually have a pretty good relationship for us as celebrity couples go. And let's not pretend that they didn't cut to who's that country singer that won American Idol? And then she sang the song about cutting up the car. I dug my nails into the side. That one.
Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood.
let's not pretend like they didn't cut to Carrie Underwood or Jessica Simpson every time they were at the game and Tony Roman was dating them. And let's not pretend that they didn't cut to Lori Morgan every time when Troy Aikman was dating her. Like, it happens. People like famous people banging.
The police were the ones watching Lori Morgan because they were afraid she was going to kill somebody again.
She already killed after she killed Keith Whitley.
Keith Whitley reference, folks.
Boy, that's what you were looking for. We have like one of our biggest live audiences, and they're so excited to have gotten the Keith
Lori
Whitley.
Morgan killed Keith Whitley.
The Tell Lori I Love Her reference. Oh boy, that got real dark. But can you imagine though, Andy, if Twitter had been around when the whole Jerry Jones firing Jimmy Johnson thing happened?
I tried to imagine what the world would be like if Twitter just wasn't around, period. So I don't want to add it to different points in history. It would be the same as Hitler had some good points, just constantly. I think
the Cowboys
win running on time.
I think the Cowboys win 4 straight Super Bowls and maybe 5 of 6 with Jimmy Johnson as the head coach, but whatever.
Well, I'll give you a good example with Carrie Underwood because she married eventually some NHL All-Star, and if this country cared about hockey at all, that'd be a big thing, but you never heard that when they flashed to her in the stands because who cared? Alyssa Milano was married to a hockey star as well for a while.
Alyssa Milano.
Nothing. Poison Ivy, but nothing.
No. But you know what, man? Like that's a good friend of the show, San Antonio Tim. Yeah, I wish. But no, San Antonio Tim, our good friend, was going after some guy. To me, it's always the insults that come out. It's like, quit taking away from foot. They have not missed a single play by cutting to Taylor Swift. They cut to her between plays. Why don't you just continue slapping your wife around while that's happening and you don't have to see Taylor Swift? Because that's true.
They're slapping something around.
Oh boy, incels are losers. Yeah. All right.
That's another one of those hard-hitting takes you'll only find on this show. Incels are losers.
Come for the sports talk and the meandering National Lampoon's Vacation.
Cancer's bad.
Stay for my takes. Andy, what are you excited about college football this weekend? Which got you fired up?
Fired up? I don't know.
Come watch the sports show where we don't really like sports all that much.
I don't like the team that I've chosen to root for is the problem. You know what I'm fearful of? It's easier to talk about that. I'm fearful of watching the fan base of the team that I root for experiencing a game like U of H experienced last night where they beat up Stephen F. Austin 27-0. You only beat Stephen F. Austin by 27 points, and then you're bragging about a shutout against a Division 3, 5, whatever Stephen F. Austin is team. And that's the kind of thing that, you won, but did you win? That's what I fear happening against UTSA this weekend. Your team plays the biggest matchup of the weekend by far. Somehow it's at noon, but we had that conversation last week. It's good to have college football back. I could not force myself to watch much of the U of H game, and I apologize to the U of H fans who are watching, U of H fan who is watching.
University.
But it was good to be able to turn on the TV and not listen to politics for a couple hours and just watch some football. Nebraska-Cincinnati was a pretty good game. So there was that.
Yeah, it was a pretty good game until it wasn't. Yeah, no, I kind of agree. To me, it was comforting to have it back, even though I did not watch much of either game.
There were 30 games on yesterday.
There's games, and there's games tonight. The funny part was, I teach at a Catholic high school, Go Warriors, I guess. And I'm good friends with the math teacher who's also the cheer coach, who's a Longhorn grad. And I'm like, hey, game week, are you excited? And she's like, oh, the girls are all ready, blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, no, I don't care about that game. I mean, game week. Andy, I think please help my fan base for as much as you're loath to do, I'm sure. Recognize that if they walk out losing to Ohio State by 3 points or by 7 points, which really, if you look at the way lines come together, is the difference between having home field advantage and not. They're still going to – this is what's going to happen. They're going to keep building this game up as the game that means everything until it's over, and then they're going to bend over backwards to tell whichever team didn't win that everything they want is still out in front of them because that's the truth.
No, the game one loss or win for either one of those teams means absolutely nothing. Unless here's where it would mean something. If your team went out and broke the Ohio State quarterback in half and then scared the backup quarterback off and they're playing the third string quarterback for the rest of the season, that would be a difference maker. Otherwise, this is a first game, basically exhibition, even though it counts in the record, in a world where being undefeated just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's not a conference game. It's in August. It's not of consequence. It should be a fun game, and both fan bases should look at it from that perspective. But it's going to tell you virtually nothing about how the rest of the season is going to go, and it's not going to dampen or increase the odds of the season getting better for either one of the teams.
Particularly when you look at both teams, the storylines are so close together because they're pretty much rolling out. Both teams are rolling out new offensive lines. Both teams are rolling out new defensive lines. Both teams are rolling out new quarterbacks. Of course, those teams are not going to be the same in November that they are now because those players don't know how to play yet.
Well, and I mean, it extends to the coaching staffs. I've already read a couple of articles about how Ryan Day can't seem to win the big games, and here's another big game. And it's not. There are no big games in college football in August. There are exciting games for the fans because It's a good matchup, but it's not a big game in that it doesn't affect your ability to do anything going forward. A loss out of conference to a top 10 team, top 5 team, doesn't affect anything. You're not going to drop in the standings precipitously again unless you get just waxed. And I don't think based on either of these teams, that's part of the equation. Even then, it's week one, and you can completely recover that by winning the rest of your games. It's just enjoy the game. And if you lose, be upset for a couple of days and then move on with the rest of your 11-game schedule that you have left.
Yeah. That
is very, very winnable and very navigable if you're a Texas fan.
What about, speaking of schedule though, I really appreciate a couple of things. One, I look forward to the 9-conference game schedule, but I also like the directive from the SEC to make sure that schools are scheduling at least one game against pretty much another Power 5. Was it another Power 5, Andy, or was it one of the, like, is it just basically no more Division II? Is that what the rule was, or was it? It's got to be.
I think that's what it is. Pac-12. What they said was it needed to be another Division I team, but the implication was it would be another Power 4 team and not a Group of 5 team. The problem with that is there's only so many of those teams to go around. So I think what you just said, just not a Division II team, is what it's going to end up being for a while. What that means for long-term SEC fans is you're not going to be playing Wofford or Swanee in November while the rest of the country is playing a conference game. It is going to cannibalize the SEC somewhat because wins and losses are a zero-sum game in college football conference play. So every team that wins, another team in your conference is lost. And part of the reason the SEC has been so resistant to move to a 9-game schedule is because the more teams that have more wins, the more teams you get in bowl games, the better that is for your conference, financially, as well as from a perspective standpoint. But again, in this new world order of 12-team playoff and everything else, I don't think it matters as much. The bowl games are going to be desperate to get anybody into the bowls, so they're going to extend invitations to 6-win teams. There's going to be a real world where 5-win teams keep getting in because you're not going to have enough 6-win teams. It's much ado about nothing except you don't have to be a season ticket holder or a fan and watch a dog of a game in November every year.
Yeah.
And again, there's different levels of that opponents outside of conference that they're talking about. So you've got 3 games that you have to schedule outside of the conference. It's going to be 2 Group of 5 or that level team and 1 Power 4 team, let's say. But is Washington State the same? I guess Texas State is now a division.
Oh my God! Yeah, Pac-12, baby.
But that's what I'm talking about. You A&M and Texas will still be able to schedule Sam Houston and Texas State and schools like that as your team. What A&M will probably continue not to do, and I'm guessing Texas will continue to not do as well for a while, is schedule the Techs and the Baylors of the world, because there's no win there for them.
Well, what it is, man, it's the same reason why Texas never scheduled A&M when they were at a conference. And I know like a lot of people in the Maroon fan base wanted to call it fear, but really there was no incentive, because the idea being the one advantage Texas had over A&M when it came to recruiting when Texas was in the Big 12 is they could say more games in your state. And by scheduling A&M, that added another game that Texas A&M could sell to parents as being another game in state. So that's, I think, a big reason for that is you're adding a little bit of recruiting legitimacy to Texas and to Tech and Baylor, and you get nothing in return if you're Texas and Texas A&M by scheduling them.
And I'm fine with that as long as we don't follow the logic that a lot of your fan base had, that A&M was somehow not playing in Texas anymore, even though they still had home games at Kyle Field.
No, I know,
because that was part of the. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it was added with the, well, they're not playing in Texas anymore, except for the 6 times a year that they are.
6 times a year they did. It's just meant that you could either do a road trip to Baylor or a road trip to Florida if your mom.
Why would you want to go to, even if you're from Texas and wanted to mom see the game? Why would you go to Waco?
You want to see Junior play football, man. That's why. But
in
that
Waco?
was, but well, wherever. But that was the recruiting argument.
Waco doesn't want to go to Waco.
It's easier for mama to go see the road games.
I'm pretty sure there was a high school team that had a playoff game scheduled in McLean Stadium and they passed just because I don't want to go to Waco.
I was going to say it's easier to go to Lubbock than Florida, but not by much.
Matter of fact, now that I'm remembering it, there was a documentary about a team that instead of playing at McLean Stadium chose to play in a dirt field with pickup trucks as lights for a conference championship or division championship. Great coach that team, by the way.
Documentary? Is that what that was? Yeah. Oh, Eric.
Tell me it wasn't.
Oh, what? Eric Taylor, man. That's a good coach.
Hey, he's in line for the A&M job if Elko doesn't work out.
Is Elko going to work out?
I don't know. He's fine.
Come to this show for Dynamite.
Nobody knows.
Whether
you would like to admit it or not, and I think you're one of the more honest Longhorn fans, there was a lot of trepidation when Dennis Francione was hired at A&M. There was a lot of trepidation when Jimbo Fisher was hired at A&M. Did those guys work out? No. So who the hell knows?
Actually, you know what's funny about that too is there was also a lot of relief when R.C. Slocum was fired. And I remember, but if you take 1,000-mile view, he was about 500 against Texas. Like it wasn't like, but yet we were relieved he was gone. It was weird.
Well,
I remember Mac Brown being upset by the fire. I guess they were close, and R.C. Slocum was always a good guy. So, you know.
Yeah. I do always think that Mac Brown, as honest as he may have been thinking that he was, there was always some extra motivation for the things he had to say. So if you're taking the side of a guy that was really well liked amongst the Texas High School Coaches Association, which is the mafia in Texas, if you're sitting outside of it, everything. If you're going to be a successful coach at Texas, at A&M, regardless of NIL, regardless of how well you recruit anywhere else, you have to pander to that organization or they will sabotage you.
Yeah.
And they will sabotage you hard, and not just in recruiting.
Ask Charlie Strong.
Yeah.
Charlie Strong.
So I think Mac Brown was savvy enough and played the game well enough to know that I want to be the good guy for the Texas coaches, because at that point he was still an outsider.
Well, you know, and you're not wrong too. Like I remember watching, I don't remember what year. Well, maybe it was 2004, and Texas was playing in the Holiday Bowl. No, they were playing in the Rose Bowl that year, and so he was doing a guest spot on ESPN, and Florida State got blown out, and Bowden was like coming off the field, and he said something crappy, and they asked Mac like what you would have done, and he goes, I don't know, man, but anytime you got a microphone, that's a good opportunity to talk to mama, as if you're always recruiting, and showing.
Mac Brown, as loath as I am to say that, I can legitimately say he played the game from that perspective better than any coach that I've seen in my lifetime. And there's probably a couple you could mention that were up there with him, but he understood how to reach those families when that was the most important thing about recruiting. I don't know that it works now, as witnessed by the fact that he's not at North Carolina anymore. But at that point in football history, at that point where Texas was on the come, he mastered that. He mastered that aspect of coaching that level of program at that time. Did it come off a little bit of hucksterish if you weren't a fan of Texas? 100%.
Yeah,
but it worked.
You could say that you can make the argument the styles are different, but it's kind of something that Deion Sanders has going for him is he's found this ability to talk to this generation of football player better than most, I think.
But I think that's the difference too. There's a recognition of talking to mom and dad, but there's also the recognition that the players are the ones making the decisions now a lot more than the parents were making the decisions then, because of NIL, because of the unlimited transfer rule. And I think one of the things Deion does really well is that he's brutally honest, and there are kids that respond to that.
Yeah. Like talking about there being weed, and the biggest tradition in Colorado is everybody smoking weed in the second quarter.
Yeah. Or just, hey, half of you guys aren't going to be here next year because you suck.
Yeah. Well,
and you're either going to respond to that and say, I don't suck and I'm going to be here, or yeah, he's right, I'll move on to the next program.
And then go to the media and get mad because Sark told that one guy, hey, I don't think you're going to play here. And then he goes to Arizona State, and that becomes a storyline for a minute.
Was that Skippity-Doo?
No, it wasn't him. It was some defensive lineman they had. And, apparently, of course, there's two versions of it. Sark's version of the story is I sat down with the kid and I said, you're just not in our plan, and we're going to give you the opportunity to go somewhere else. And the kid said, Sark yelled at me and told me I fucking suck. Now, I don't believe the kid, because I feel like in today's media, we would have heard that. If that was his pattern of behavior, it would have been out by now.
Sure.
But
also, when you're 18, 19 years old, the things that are told to you and the things you hear are two different things. A lot of the times, I've had that age twice now.
You've raised two of them, so
yeah, it's not the perception and the reality don't always line up directly.
No.
It's interesting, though, because it does bring up a thing that I think has NIL, the unlimited transfer rule, the way college football is structured right now, has brought to light that was always there under the surface. Football scholarships, up until I think now, have been year-to-year deals. And the implication is that you can be here for 4 to 5 years if you stay on the good list. But there are plenty of guys, even before there were unlimited transfers, that had a conversation with a coach every year that was along the lines of, hey, we appreciate what you're doing, but you're just not going to ever play here.
Yeah.
You can continue to wear the jersey and come out to games, but that's all you're ever going to do. If you want to play, you're going to go somewhere else. And it's not the same as get the fuck out. You're not any good. It's just literally, we've got 10 guys that are better than you.
Yeah.
And the hope for the coach is, I don't want to keep burning a scholarship on you. And I think that's the thing that has changed, is that you could be the player in that scenario and say, but I want to stay. And they go, all right, that's fine. Maybe you medical red shirt. Maybe you do something else. Maybe there's some way. That part I think is gone, but all the rest of it's just brought to light because it is very transactional. These coaches are really well paid, but they're also only employed if they win.
Yeah.
And they only win with the best players. And it's not pretty, but that's what college football has been for a long time. It's just out in public now.
That's the thing. We're saying the quiet part out loud, and it's allowing for a certain subsect of people, including somebody I'm related to clutch pearls, like it hasn't always been that way. But money's always been part of the sport. That's why you saw facilities getting refreshed every 3 years. So that way, I mean, what do you think that is?
Facilities were the differentiator at one point.
At one point, yeah.
You know what else was a differentiator? Under the table NIL.
Golden Trans Amps, if you're Eric Dickerson.
Or Rhett Bomar. Remember Rhett Bomar?
Oh, Rhett Bomar, yeah.
And what was it? Big Jim's autos. Big Red.
Red Bomar is the source of my favorite meme because of that. And it's a Longhorn defensive tackle sacking him and somebody animated money coming out of his jersey when he got hit. Like, yeah. Rhett Bomar getting paid at a car dealership he never, ever saw ever in his life.
With cars, by the way, not just small amounts of money. And that stuff's not, it's anecdotal and fun to talk about like it's not real, but it was entirely real.
Mm-hmm. Did A&M give Dickerson a Trans Am and then he went somewhere else?
Well, if you want to play the game, A&M didn't give him a booster. And then Eric Dickerson decided that he wanted to go to SMU because he wanted to play. What he ultimately decided was, I don't really want to go to College Station, but I definitely don't want to go to Texas because Texas evidently, whatever booster was handling his recruiting, told him that if he didn't come to Texas, not only would he never work in Texas, but his family would all be fired from their jobs. So Eric Dickerson's hate for Texas is long storied and I think still ongoing at this point.
So we went a little lead pipe. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Whereas his dislike for A&M was more, I just don't want to go to College Station, which that's a choice.
But you picked
I'd rather be in the Dallas area. And at that point, based on what was going on at SMU, I get it. Pony Excess is a fantastic documentary, probably the best 30 for 30 that they made.
It's not the best run. Top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I put Catholics versus Convicts up there. I think that one is great. But yeah, Pony Excess, definitely best title.
Yep.
Of them. Yeah. Well, I guess that just about wraps us up. Who do you got for winning tomorrow? I'm going to take Texas by a field goal because we got a new field goal kicker.
Nothing against Texas, but I think home field is home field for a reason. I think Ohio State, and I know I saw some fan telling me that Texas has never lost in the Horseshoe because they played there once.
Yeah, but what a game. Lima Swede, man. What a game. No, but my favorite part, though, is that Texas is the stat right now is they have the longest current road winning streak. And then somebody pointed out that they lost in the Cotton Bowl for the playoff, not realizing that a neutral site is not a road game. The stat is they've won 11 straight true road games.
Sure.
So
it's going to come down to.
No, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. It just shows you people are stupid.
Yeah, it's going to come down to Ryan Day versus Sark and how they both have relatively young teams. I think Day's offense should be good. I think Texas's defense should be excellent. I still don't know what you're going to get out of Arch Manning for a full game. I don't think he's going to be bad. I just don't think he's immediately going to leave the chute as a Heisman Trophy front runner, which we'll see. But I've got Ohio State probably by a field goal, but we'll see.
I think Texas beats them in the playoff, though.
Again, both these programs should be worried about what happens in November, December, and January a lot more than they should care about what happens in August.
Okay, let me leave a little pop culture stuff because we're getting.
And then A&M will win by not enough against UTSA.
No matter what it is.
It won't be enough because 6 wins.
6 wins. No, come on. I got A&M at 9-3. I think they take a step forward.
Look, I wore my college colors today. I even got my fun Nikes on.
Oh, those are sharp. Are those actually like Jordans? But they're not like the running shoes. Those are like.
No, they're not Jordans. They're right next to them on the shelf.
The Jordan-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to see if Texas has those. I usually get the Texas Pegasus ones, but I've got 3 pair of those, and at some point,
I'm sure somebody on this show is going to tell us what they are, but I think they're Air Force or something like that. Anyway, I'm participating. I'm playing along. I just don't have a lot of faith.
Okay. Well, my whole thing is, I think A&M goes 9-3. I think they improve. And a little pop culture thing. I'm starting the movie thing. Getting my horror movie on. I rewatched the remakes to Firestarter and Carrie. Carrie the remake and Carrie the original film, kind of same quality for me, but because they're kind of different. But the Firestarter remake, way better than the original with Zac Efron, way better than the Drew Barrymore film. So if that's what your bag is, plus we got some more stuff coming on. But the Astros tonight versus the Angels for 4. They've got a game on Memorial Day. For Andy, I'm Jim. This has been your favorite meandering sports and pop culture show. This has been Off Day with Ballpark Nation.